Here we go. And coming to you live and local right across the bay, the Wedding Bell Blues girls. Did you get nervous before?
Oh, cute little song.
It is a cute little song, isn't it? Yeah, it came out in the 70s, that one, Wedding Bell Blues. I'm not too sure if she felt a bit down on that. Maybe she's got the blues because he won't marry her.
Yeah, right. I was not nervous before Mum because I had no time. I made my own wedding dress and, of course, I was totally disorganised. So I was still sewing my dress together an hour before the wedding. I only just made it on time. Linda's known me a long time. She is not surprised about that.
I could see that happening.
There was a needle and cotton stuck under
It certainly was.
Girl always needs some spare needle and cotton.
Oh, yeah. It's me. It's like, what do men need? Spare what? Don't say it. All right, let's get back to serious stuff. Around the house.
Around the house.
What can we do?
Oh, there's so many toxins we're breathing in all day, every day. I think it's one of those things where you have to just start paying attention and then changing things slowly because you can't do everything at once. So what were the biggest things you started changing, Linda, when you started becoming aware of toxicity? And
Madonna met me when I first started studying to be a naturopath. I had chronic fatigue and I'd medically diagnosed mercury and copper poisoning. Wasn't a particularly well thriving kind of girl. And so with that and my ensuing issues with methylation, which is one of these detoxification pathways we can now check for in genetic profiling, I'm particularly sensitive to chlorine. And so one of the really big things for me was to get a chlorine filter for my shower. And now when I work with people like this, it's one of the first things that I get them to do. And in New Zealand, it would be the same here. You can go and just get I guess quite a big cylinder because chlorine filters quite easily, and just put it on the inlet coming into your house. That way you can actually manage your house for only a little bit more than normally managing your shower, so the chlorine's not in your clothing.
That's called the Big Blue, is that the one?
It is the one. I'm fortunate I live in the country and I have a wonderful bore source of water, but on the house in town that my daughter stays at we have a Big Blue one that we get from the local dairy farming factory.
This is back in New Zealand?
Yeah, back in New Zealand. And that takes a profound load of people's detoxification pathways. Try and remember my statistics. I think something like a 10-minute hot shower, you get 200 times the exposure of chlorine that you're meant to be exposed to, and that's of course because it's a halide and it forms a gas when heated.
So, and that's why some people feel dizzy after the shower because
and that's what I started noticing. I'd get up and I'd go sort of feel okay, and then I'd have a shower and go, I sort of feel sick and really bring on the chronic fatigue. I suppose the other big thing that I had a huge issue with that was mould. And of course, poor methylators can't methylate the mould toxicity. And
of course, with the shower business you just spoke about, you wouldn't relate it. First up, you wouldn't have related to what the chlorine was doing to you. You just probably thought, gee, I'm not well.
Yes, and it's when you're really unwell, it's hard to see the difference between when you're good and when you're not good. But as I started to get some better experiences of feeling well, because I would have just even in the beginning been doing taking food intolerances out of my diet and increasing magnesium, basic things, and then started to go, wow, what's going on with the shower? So,
Linda, does that restrict you from maybe going to the local pool or going to...
I would never...
Panic attack just at the thought of it.
For me,
What was that word? Sheesh.
Sheesh. That's my word. I would never hop in a chlorinated pool personally. It just wouldn't be worth the effect on my body. I do struggle. I know I did a personal development course in Florida a few years ago, and I spent 2 weeks living in the Hilton. It was pretty good, but and then the chlorination in the shower. So I had to take significant steps, particularly with my B12 pathways, to get myself back to normal.
Yeah, so I took you off the pathway of mould. You were about to sort of discuss mould.
Well, there's a whole thing called CIRS these days, chronic inflammatory response syndrome, respiratory syndrome. It's CIRS, C-I-R-S. Okay. And basically and there are so many symptoms associated with it, but 80% of the cause is moulds.
Right.
And it's moulds in the house, it's moulds in your shoe cupboard, it's moulds, it's sort of like when we're living, when it's been rainy, it's sort of like moulds can be everywhere,
especially
dust.
in Brisbane and Queensland.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't have to particularly have a mouldy house, but just the mould spore that's in the environment when it's hot and humid here.
Most people reach for the chlorine spray or something, don't they?
Exactly.
Products, but that's what they do. They make up their own out of liquid chlorine. Okay, what else? What can they use instead of? What can they do? Have you got any
well, I mean, vinegar is one thing.
Is it? Okay.
Sometimes sometimes you sort of got to kill the mould if it's on tiles and things. Really getting rid of furniture that's got mould impregnated in it. You know, people think they'd clean it up and they go, every time it, January hits, that cupboard always gets mouldy. Well, that mould is impregnated in that, and the furniture possibly just needs burning. And I know certainly for myself, when it was evident how much of a problem it was for me, that I went to leather couches and things like that I could really actively clean. That's particularly when I was living in Queensland.
Point,
I remember a client of mine, her brother was a painter, so he had whatever skill he needed, but she had this mould in the hallway of her house, and they repainted it and re-wallpapered it 4 times. They could not get rid of the mould with all of the chemicals and everything that they had up there. So, because she wasn't caring about the toxicity about it, she wanted to resell the house. But it was interesting at the time, every time I'd go there, I did at-home massages at that time, but I would go there and once again the mould was back again. Then they ended up just having to wallpaper itself.
Obviously, fresh airflow has got a big thing to do with it.
And sunshine, fresh air, light helps to kill fungus.
The humidity levels. And was when I was last living here, there was a great show, one of those shows where if people are chronically ill and they go and look in their houses, and it was a house, I think, in northern New South Wales, where a lady just had chronic lung issues, and when they went in and investigated, and all underneath the deck, the mould, it was just huge. And of course, there wasn't so much in the house, but just walking in and out, having the doors open, and the mould exposure.
I live in an apartment block, and they had an issue with mould because of the exhaust fans. The bathrooms are on the inside. There's no window. Because that's the way they build apartments sometimes. Everything's internally, all the plumbing. So there was a bit of an issue. They did fix it up. It was fixed up, but I know it was.
It's a really big thing to look at if you feel quite chronically unwell, have a lot of brain fog and tiredness, and particularly if you did something like when it was really humid here in the summer, if you went somewhere like Perth that was just hot and dry, and you suddenly felt more alive and vibrant, because those dry Mediterranean style areas are the low mould.
Totally different climates. Totally.
I follow a mould specialist who works, I think, in Wales, in the UK, called Dr. Sarah Myhill. You can look up her website. There's some really great tips there.
Is she a mould specialist as well? Because she's a chronic fatigue specialist.
And a big part of it, because she works in a very damp part. It was one of the things she gets people to do is go on holiday to sort of Malta or a Greek island where it's that classic Mediterranean dry, low mould atmosphere, and see how they respond.
And I suppose internally we can use things like citrus seed extracts and things like that.
Getting your own fungal levels down, improving sort of your methylation. I know I've done heaps of that, but man, if I start living in a house that's mouldy, I just fall apart.
What do you feel? So if you sort of explain what you feel.
I'll wake up and I feel like I've been hit by a bus. I'll be headachy. I'll feel chronic fatigue, and I'll experience fibromyalgia. So in my house in New Zealand, I've removed all the carpet, and my mum's like, it'll be cold in the winter. But as I say to her, where I live is hot and dry in the summer, so it makes the house quite cool, and then I've just done other things to improve it.
Are you on the North or South Island?
I'm on the North Island, in an area in the winter that gets a lot of fog, so there's a dampness there. So I have, it's very common in New Zealand for people to have something called an HRV ventilation system in their house. It's just made a huge difference.
Well, since I've moved into an apartment, I've been using fans a lot. Because they do rotate the air, as opposed to air conditioning. I don't think that's good for you 24/7.
No. But, and I think it's good to think when you're using air conditioners a lot to make sure that we use essential oils, if you like that sort of things. Things like lemon helps to boost your immunity, because it is, there can be problems associated with air conditioners.
Getting your filters cleaned regularly.
They need to be cleaned regularly, yes.
All right, well, that's all very interesting. We'll have another little short break. We'll come back and we'll talk about another little subject. Is something on the go? You put your heads together and have a talk about it during the break here on Bay FM. Back with more in just a moment.